There's a language older than words, deeper than promises, truer than the whispers of longing. It is the language of your body, the tightness in your chest when they walk in the room, the way your shoulders drop when the name flashes on your phone, the quiet tremor in your hands that says, "This is not love. This is not home." Oh, but you silence it, don't you? You address the ache and excuses, paint red flags beige to match the walls of your patience. But listen, my dear, your bones know when they are bending under the weight of the wrong love. Your spirit knows when it is being folded into corners too small for its wing. You were not made to wilt in the shadow of someone who cannot see your sun. You were not made to apologize for your hunger, for joy, for peace, for a love that does not leave you starving. So when the dread sits heavy in your belly, when your laughter feels like a relic of a former self, when the mirror reflects a face you barely recognize, listen, these are not just feelings. They are the map your soul is drawing to lead you back to yourself. The wrong love will make you quiet, but the right love, oh, the right love will make you sing. And you, my love, were born to be heard. Your body is not just flesh and bone. It is a living, breathing compass, whispering truths your mind is too afraid to speak aloud. Have you ever felt your stomach not when they say, "I love you," but their eyes stay cold? Have you noticed how your breath shortens when they walk into the room? Not from excitement, but from something deeper, something older. A primal knowing that says, this is not safe, this is not right. Oh, but we are taught to doubt ourselves, aren't we? We are told love is supposed to be hard, that doubt is normal, that pain is just part of the journey. But let me tell you this, love should not feel like a war inside your own skin. Love should not make your hand shake when you reach for your phone. Love should not leave you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering why your heart feels like a clenched fist. Your body knows, it has always known, that flutter in your chest when they cancel plans is a relief. That heaviness in your limbs when they touch you, is it exhaustion or sorrow? That voice in the back of your throat, the one you swallow down like a bitter pill, what is it trying to say? Before the words form, before the thoughts crystallize, your body is speaking to you in the quiet language of sensation. A racing pulse, a sinking gut, a spine that stiffens when they come too close. These are not accidents. These are warnings written in the ink of your own survival. We have been trained to betray ourselves, to call intuition overthinking, to call fear drama, to call exhaustion commitment. We silence the screams of our own flesh because we have been told it's supposed. But let me ask you this, when a flower bends away from the darkness, do we call it weak? When a tree roots itself away from poisoned soil, do we call it selfish? No, we call it life. We call it wisdom. Your body is not a liar. It is the most honest thing you will ever know. It does not care about their excuses. It does not care about the years you've invested. Does not care about how lonely the world feels without them. It only cares about one thing, your survival. And if your hands tremble, if your throat closes, if your heart pounds like a prisoner against your ribs, it is not because you are broken. It is because you are whole. It is because you are still listening. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to stay small, but your body, it has never forgotten its power. It has never forgotten how to say no before your lips do. It has never forgotten how to flinch before your mind catches up. If you stop shushing it with logic, stop drowning it in doubt, it will lead you home. Because here is the truth. The right love will not make you question your sanity. The right love will not make you beg for the bare minimum. The right love will not leave you translating your own pain into poetry just to make it better. The right love will feel like coming home to yourself, not like fleeing from your own skin. So the next time your body speaks, do not punish it for its honesty. Do not call it weak. Do not call it foolish. Thank it. Thank it for protecting you when no one else would. Thank it for remembering what your heart has tried so hard to forget. And then to trust it, because your body has been fighting for you longer than anyone else ever has, and it will not lead you wrong. There is a kind of tired that sleep cannot fix, a kind of heaviness that follows you from room to room, clinging like smoke to your clothes, like shadows to your steps. It's the way your heart pounds before they text back, the way your jaw clenches when you hear their key in the door, the way you hold your breath without realizing it, as if waiting for the next storm to break. This is not love. This is not how love is supposed to feel. Love should not be a battlefield inside your chest. Love should not make you flinch at the sound of their voice. Love should not leave you scrolling through old photos, wondering where the joy went, wondering when the light left your eyes. You were not made to carry this weight, this constant gnawing dread that sits in your stomach like a stone. You were made for light, for laughter that bubbles up without warning, for peace that settles into your bones like sunlight. But here you are, walking on eggshells, measuring your words, silencing your thoughts before they even leave your lips. You tell yourself it's normal. You tell yourself it's just a phase. You tell yourself, maybe if I love harder, if I stay quieter, if I bend further, maybe then it will stop. Deep down, deep down you feel it. The way your body tenses when they enter the room, the way your shoulders slump when they leave. Your body is not lying to you. It is begging you to listen. Anxiety is not love's companion. Love does not come with a side of fear. Love does not make you question your worth, your sanity, your right to take up space. Love does not leave you gasping for air in a room with open windows. If you are constantly bracing for impact, if you are always waiting for the other shoe to drop, ask yourself this: what am I holding on to? And at what cost? You deserve more than this. You deserve mornings without knots in your stomach. You deserve conversations without calculating every word. You deserve a love that feels like coming up for air, not like drowning in slow motion. You were not made to be afraid of the person who claims to love you. You were not made to shrink yourself into something digestible, something manageable, something less. You were made to be vast, to be free. To be so full of joy it spills over. And I know how hard it is to walk away. I know how loud the silence can be. I know how terrifying it is to imagine a life without them, even if being with them feels like a life half lived. But ask yourself this: what is more terrifying, the unknown, or staying trapped in this endless cycle of dread, of waiting, of hoping for a change that never comes? Your anxiety is not your enemy. It is not weakness. It is not overreacting. It is your spirit's way of sounding the alarm. It is your heart's way of saying, this is not right. This is not safe. This is not love. And you have the power to listen. You have the power to choose yourself. You have the power to walk away from what hurts you, even if it means walking through fire to get to the other side. Because here's the truth: the right love will not make you afraid. The right love will not make you question your worth. The right love will not leave you carrying a weight you were never meant to bear. The right love will feel like coming home to yourself, like finally being able to breathe. So if your body is whispering, if your heart is screaming, if your spirit is exhausted from carrying this weight, listen, trust yourself. You have survived everything life has thrown at you so far. Not just survive this too. Not just survive, thrive. Because you, my love, were made for so much more than this. And the world is waiting for you to remember. There is a sacred space inside you where miracles grow. Place where your laughter should echo freely, where your dreams should stretch their wings, where your voice should rise unshaken. This is where love is meant to live, not as a guest, but as sunlight pouring through open windows, making everything it touches brighter, bolder, more alive. But what happens when love does the opposite? When instead of lifting you, it presses down on your chest like a stone. When your sentences grow shorter, your opinions quieter, your dreams smaller, just to keep the peace. When you find yourself folding inward day after day until you barely recognize the reflection staring back at you. This is not love. This is not how love behaves. Love does not prune you like a dying branch. Love does not silence your thunder into a whisper. Love does not make you apologize for taking up space. Real love is water to your roots. It makes you taller. It makes you stronger. It makes you bloom in colors you didn't know you had. If you are shrinking, if you are making yourself digestible, if you are swallowing your fire to keep someone else warm, stop. Breathe. Listen to the rebellion pounding in your chest. That is not restlessness. That is your soul fighting for its right to exist. We have all done it. Dimmed our light to avoid blinding those who prefer the dark. Changed our rhythm to match someone else's tempo. Sanded down our edges to fit into palms that were never meant to hold us. But here is the truth they never taught you. Love should not require disappearing. Love should not demand you break pieces off yourself to make someone else whole. The right love will recognize your vastness and say, more, give me more of who you truly are. Think back. Remember who you were before the apologies became second nature. Before you started keeping score of your own sacrifices. Before you learned to bite your tongue to keep from rocking the boat. That version of you, the one who spoke freely, loved boldly, took up space without permission, she is still there. Buried perhaps, bruised maybe, but breathing, waiting. And she is not begging you to stay small so someone else can feel big. She is begging you to remember, you were never meant to live curled tight like a fist. You were meant to bloom. Every time you mute your laughter, you betray her. Every time you swallow your truth, you abandon her. Every time you make yourself smaller to make someone else comfortable, you bury her a little deeper. But she is stubborn, that version of you. She will keep knocking, she will keep whispering. She will keep leaving breadcrumbs in your dreams. Reminders of what it feels like to stand tall, to speak clear, to exist without apology. The world will try to convince you this shrinking is maturity. That compromise means erasing yourself. That love requires sacrifice, not of time or effort, but of your very essence. Do not believe it. The right love will demand your courage, not your compliance. The right love will want your storms as much as your sunshine. The right love will look at your unedited, unfiltered, unapologetic self and say, yes, this, exactly this. So today, in this moment, ask yourself, does this love make me feel like I'm growing or like I'm disappearing? Does it water my roots or cut them? Does it whisper become or be less? Your body knows, your spirit knows. That hollow feeling in your chest when you force yourself into shapes that don't fit, that's not loneliness. That's homesickness for the self you left behind. You were not made to be a footnote in someone else's story. You were made to be the poem, the anthem, the revolution. You were made to take up space, not as an apology, but as a declaration. So rise, not tomorrow, not when it's safer, not when you're ready, now. However you can, however small the step may seem, unclench your fists, lift your chin, breathe deep, and let yourself take up all the damn space you were born to fill. The world needs your voice, not your silence, your fire, not your ashes, your full, radiant, unshrunken self. And the right love, the real love, will stand back in awe and say, look at you, look how you bloom. There is a particular kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being with someone and still feeling unseen. It's the quiet ache that settles between you and bed when the inches of mattress feel like miles. It's the way your voice echoes in conversations that go nowhere. The way your laughter falls flat against their indifference. It's the crushing realization that the person who promised to be your home has become a stranger under the same roof. This loneliness doesn't announce itself with drama. It doesn't come with shouting or slammed doors. It slips in quietly like fog, filling the spaces between words, turning shared moments into performances, making you feel like you're holding a one-sided conversation with your own shadow. You tell yourself it's normal. You say every relationship has its dry spells. You convince yourself this is just how love feels after the spark fades. But deep down, in that place where truth lives, love shouldn't leave you starving at a table set for two. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly heard? Not just listened to, but understood in that bone-deep way where your thoughts don't need translation. When was the last time you shared something vulnerable and didn't immediately regret it? When was the last time their presence actually comforted you, instead of reminding you how far apart two people can be while sharing the same space? This is the silence that screams. It's not the absence of noise, it's the absence of connection. It's the way your heart pounds when you realize you've stopped sharing your dreams because they'll only meet them with indifference. It's the way you've started editing your joy, dimming your excitement because their lukewarm responses hurt more than no response at all. It's the way you've become a master at pretending their emotional distance doesn't wound you, even as you bleed out slowly from 1,000 tiny neglects. The cruelest part, you might be surrounded by people who envy your relation. They see the Instagram posts, the holiday photos, the outward appearances of coupled bliss. They don't see the private ache, the way you scroll through your phone looking for anyone to fill the emotional void your partner leaves. They don't see how you've started dreading weekends because empty time together just highlights the emptiness between you. They don't know you've become an expert at manufacturing connection from crumbs of attention, pretending it's enough when your soul is starving for something real. Here's what you need to hear. Being alone is scary, but being lonely in love is a special kind of hell. At least when you're alone, the solitude holds possibility. But this half-life of emotional abandonment while physically together, this is slow suffocation. Your spirit isn't meant to survive on scraps. Your heart isn't designed to ration affection. You, wild, vibrant, full of love to give, you deserve someone who makes the silence feel like peace, not like punishment. That voice inside you that whispers this isn't enough is not ingratitude, it's wisdom. That hollow feeling in your chest when they're right beside you, but emotionally galaxies away. That's not neediness. That's your soul recognizing a fundamental truth. Connection isn't about proximity. It's about presence. And you can't fake presence any more than you can fake sunlight. The right relationship won't leave you homesick for connection. The right person won't make you mourn intimacy while lying in their arms. Real love doesn't just fill space, it fills you. It looks at your quietest parts and says, I see you. It meets your vulnerability not with silence, but with me too. It turns solitude into togetherness instead of togetherness into solitude. So if you're reading this with a knot in your stomach because you recognize this loneliness, if you've been pretending this is as good as it gets, hear me. You weren't made to be a ghost in your own relationship. You weren't put on this earth to beg for bare minimum attention from someone who should be your sanctuary. That ache inside you, it's not a flaw, it's a compass. And it's pointing you toward a love that doesn't just share your space, but shares your life. The silence will keep screaming until you listen. The question is, how much of yourself are you willing to lose before you answer? Your mind wasn't built to carry this weight. Yet here you are, spending your days constructing elaborate explanations for why they treat you this way, why they keep hurting you, why they never change. You've become an architect of excuses, building bridges over gaps that only grow wider, crafting justifications that crumble under the slightest scrutiny. The mental gymnastics leave you drained. But you keep performing them because the alternative, admitting the truth, feels like free falling without a parachute. How many times have you rewritten history in your head? They didn't mean it like that. They're just stressed. Maybe if I explain it differently next time. You ration their affection like it's the last water in the desert, celebrating drops when you deserve oceans. You've memorized their potential more than their actions, loving who they could be while ignoring who they actually are. And the most heartbreaking part, somewhere beneath the layers of explanations, beneath the carefully constructed narratives, this isn't love, it's labor. That knot in your stomach when they disappoint you again, that's not confusion, it's clarity. That exhaustion you feel after yet another conversation where you end up comforting them about their own bad behavior, that's not fatigue. It's your spirit begging for respite. The right relationship doesn't require this much translation. Real love doesn't need a press second. Think about the energy you pour into making their actions make sense. The hours spent analyzing text for hidden meanings. The mental spreadsheets comparing good days to bad. The way you've become a detective in your own relationship, searching for clues that this time will be different. That's not partnership. That's survival mode. You're not being too sensitive. You're being too generous with someone who gives you crumbs and calls it a feast. Every excuse you make for them is a betrayal of yourself. Every time you explain away their indifference, you teach your heart that your needs don't matter. Every justification chips away at your boundaries until you can't remember where you end in the problem. The emotional labor of maintaining this illusion is staggering. You're doing the work of two people in a relationship where only one shows up. Here's the liberating truth. Love shouldn't require this much explanation. It shouldn't feel like a puzzle you're constantly trying to solve. The right person won't keep you guessing where you stand with them. They won't have you rehearsing conversations in the shower, preparing for battles that shouldn't exist. They won't make "I miss you" feel like a negotiation instead of a celebration. That exhaustion you feel, it's not from loving too much. It's from accepting too little. It's from the cognitive dissonance of trying to reconcile what they say with what. Your body isn't tired from giving love. It's tired from the endless emotional translation required to make their behavior acceptable. Imagine what you could do with all that energy you spend excusing them. Imagine the creativity, the joy, the life that could flourish if you weren't constantly pouring your brilliance into a black hole of potential. You are a reservoir of thought and emotional landfill for someone else's issue. The day you stop making excuses for them is the day you stop making space for miracles. When you stop bending reality to fit their narrative, you reclaim the power to shape your own. Those mental gymnastics you've been performing, you don't need them anymore. The safety net you fear losing was never really there. You were the one doing all the catching. So take a deep breath and say it out loud. I'm tired of explaining love that doesn't explain itself. That's not giving up. That's growing up. That's choosing the magnificent reality of your worth over the fantasy of who they might become. The right love won't leave you exhausted from explaining basic human decency. It won't have you performing emotional acrobatics to justify your own happiness. It will simply be easy, clear, and as undeniable as sunlight. Your heart wasn't meant to be a courtroom where love stands trial every day. It was meant to be a home where you live, not litigate. Where you thrive, not testify. Where love doesn't need excuses because actions speak loud enough. There was a time when laughter came easily to you, when your smile wasn't something you had to remember to wear, but something that broke through like sunshine through storm clouds. When did it change? When did happiness become something you had to chase instead of something that lived naturally in your bones? When did your joy pack its bags and leave quietly in the night, leaving only its shadow behind? This is how you know something is wrong. Not from dramatic fights or explosive arguments, but from the slow erosion of your delight, From the way your favorite songs don't move you like they used to. From how you've stopped looking forward to weekends because they're just longer stretches of the same heaviness. From realizing it's been months since you felt that electric spark of being truly unapologetically alive. You tell yourself this is just what happens when you grow up. That adulthood means trading wonder for responsibility. But that's a lie. Growing up shouldn't mean shrinking your capacity for joy. Maturing doesn't require abandoning delight. The right relationship doesn't dim your light, it gives you new reasons to glow. Think back. When was the last time you felt completely at ease? Not just content, but brimming with that effervescent happiness that used to bubble up for no reason at all. When was the last time you danced in the kitchen or got lost in a moment of pure silliness? When did you stop surprising yourself with your own capacity for joy? This slow fading isn't normal. It's not just how relationships go. It's your spirit's way of waving red flags you've been too busy to see. That constant low-grade exhaustion you feel. It's not from working too hard, it's from loving too hard in a space that doesn't nourish you in return. That emotional jet lag you can't shake, it's your heart living in the wrong time zone, constantly out of sync with where it's meant to be. You were made for more than this muted existence. You were created to know joy so deep it terrifies you, laughter so real it hurts your stomach, moments so bright they leave after images on your soul. This half-life of emotional compromise. This isn't living, it's waiting. Waiting for permission to be happy. Waiting for them to finally see you. Waiting for some future version of your relationship where you might feel alive again. But here's the revolutionary truth. You don't need permission to reclaim your joy. You don't need someone else's validation to dance in your living room. You don't require their participation to remember what makes your soul sing. Your happiness was never theirs to give or to take away. That spark you miss, it's still there, buried perhaps, but breathing, waiting for you to stop tiptoeing around someone else's moods and start stomping your feet to the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Your laughter hasn't disappeared. It's just been waiting for you in places this relationship never lets you go. The right love won't make you choose between their comfort and your joy. It won't ask you to shrink your happiness to fit their limitations. Real love will hand you a megaphone when you whisper your dreams. It will turn up the music when you start humming. It will recognize your light not as a threat, but as proof it's found the right person. So today, right now, ask yourself, does this relationship expand my capacity for joy or restrict it? Do I feel more alive or less, more myself or a faded photocopy? Your answers will terrify you. That's how you know they're true. Your joy isn't gone. It's just been waiting patiently for you to come home to yourself. Waiting for you to stop apologizing for your own brightness. Waiting for you to remember that you, exactly as you are, with all your messy, magnificent hunger for happiness, are somewhat worth celebrating. The world needs your laughter like flowers need rain. Your delight isn't frivolous, it's revolutionary. Your capacity for joy isn't childish. It's the most mature act of resistance in a world that wants you small and serious. So let it come back, however it needs to, however small the beginning. Hum along to the radio, stay up late watching movies that make you cry, walk barefoot in grass. Relearn the sound of your own unguided laughter. Your joy wasn't lost, it was just waiting for you to choose it. And today, oh glorious, today is the perfect day to begin.